We are the weirdos, mister.
What is up, and welcome back to my messy abode, messy not dirty. And today I'm going to be doing a little get ready with me. I have some blushes from Salt, New York that I want to try. I know that I also still have the ones from Khaki that I need to try. I think I might try one more from Khaki, and then next get ready with me, I'll do the Salt, New York ones, because I also tried Aperitif. It looks really good. I think maybe I have a photo somewhere that I'm throwing in here. Anyways, let's get ready. As you know, I just chat about whatever. If you're interested in Get Ready With Me, where I just chat about whatever's on my mind, then welcome. I'm Audra. This video is brought to you by my patrons and channel members, without whom I would not be able to continue creating content. I am in process of working through all of the tiers, etc. So join the fun. We do makeup playtimes. We haven't done one in a minute, so I think I need to do that. Movie nights, and just videos that are just exclusively for patrons and channel members. And they get them first. So, you know, join up, subscribe if you're not subscribed, hit the noties, and make sure you're checking your subscriptions feed. Because even I have noticed, not just for me, for everybody that you watch, because I noticed that if I don't check my subscription feeds, I'm not gonna see you. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know why YouTube is like this, but I can have my notifications on for you all day long. It's not gonna tell me. Unless you're like a huge channel, even then that's dicey. Anyways, some of you may know this, but I have been house hunting with my mom. We are buying a house together, and that really made me like think about and consider the wildness that is like American hyper independence. And I started thinking about how strange it is that we feel like it's so important for us to like live by ourselves, and I think it's weird. I think it's weird. I think the way that the world is going though right now, more and more of us are getting more comfortable with the idea of cohabitating and living with people that aren't our romantic partners. And I feel like there's a few reasons for this. Like for me, obviously it's financial. Financially, it makes more sense because like if I told y'all how much my rent was, I will say this. It is like 3/4 of my monthly income. It is so expensive. And it's not like I have the option to just move somewhere else. I think that's another thing that people don't understand is it's like getting expensive everywhere. And I don't really have the option of just like going somewhere else cheaper, because one, that often means that you're going to a neighborhood that's not particularly safe for you to be in as a single person. So there you have that there. Sorry, I'm just letting the concealer, because this one's one of them wet ones. It's the Pat McGrath. And sometimes if you don't let it like chill for a second, it gets a little creasy. And it also sometimes doesn't conceal as much as you'd like it to. So, you know, you have that. But the other thing too is like moving is hella expensive, and people love to just be like, oh, we'll just move. Moving is super expensive. Like, and the way that I move is very expensive. Now I know somebody could just be like, well, just get U-Haul, like da-da-da. It's more expensive actually for me to do U-Haul because I have to take time off of work. I have to rent the U-Haul. I have to find friends who are willing to spend time helping me move all of my stuff. I have to spend all the time it takes to move all of my stuff. And that just, the costs start rising. Buy beer and food for the friends who are moving, etc. I started putting kind of the stuff side by side and realized that like hiring the movers is just a smidgen more expensive, but I typically only need to take one day off because the movers do everything and they put everything in its place. So it just makes my life easier. But my job also makes it difficult for me to do all that other stuff, because when you're a mail carrier, like taking time off is often pretty difficult. And I don't know that a lot of people understand that, because we are always woefully understaffed. Like every time if you haven't gotten mail for a few days, I had been afraid to even broach the subject with my mom, and I wish I had, because we'd be living in our house right now. But I had been afraid to broach the subject because I felt like I would be benefiting far more from the situation, because obviously I make significantly less than my mother, who's been working for way longer than me. So I didn't bring anything up. And then when I brought it up, my mom was like, dang, I thought so too. I thought it would be nice too, but I didn't want to encroach on your personal space. And here's the thing. I think, obviously I look at everything as like capitalism is what makes it like this, right? Because what really drove our independence to all live in our own home? Like, what made it so important that you had to have your own personal domicile that no one else lives in? And I was talking to my dear friend Em about this, and I was talking about like how, one of the issues is that when you're a kid, obviously you don't have as much autonomy in your home as you'd like to have. I have forgotten my foundation. Hold on. Like growing up, it's your parents' house, your parents' rules. So even when you turn 18, there's still a lot of people's parents are still doing that like my house, my rules thing, which to a degree I understand, but to another degree, it's like they're an adult. So like you kind of need to let go of some of that and like let them go out and enjoy their lives and make the mistakes that young people are gonna make. Because otherwise, like, especially when they go to college, this is where shit gets out of hand. Do you know what I mean? Like people just start doing way too much and you're just having to sit there and figure out like how they went from being an A student to like barely going to class. And a lot of that is because you didn't really have a lot of autonomy. The older you got, and the more you tried to like flex and be an adult, not me, but a lot of people, I saw it happening to a lot of people around me. My mom had a lot of trust in me, and that's also because my mom, the way that I grew up with my mom was that she didn't keep things from me. Like she had sex talks with me early. Like I knew what the body parts were actually called. Like I wasn't calling it like my no-no place or cookie or anything like that. I was calling it by its government name. And so that being the case, my mom just really wasn't worried about me, and that's like kind of embarrassing to say out loud. Like my mom was not worried about me throwing parties and doing all of that when she was gone, because first of all, I wasn't cleaning up after that. I just wasn't. It wasn't gonna happen. That's not something I wanted to do. Cleaning? That was not gonna be my life. So anyways, but like I think a lot of parents just keep like the reins tighter and tighter, and I just don't think that that's good. So obviously you have that, and then you get to go to college, and then a lot of times you have to have a roommate of somebody you don't even know, right? And everybody hasn't learned how to roommate. Like everybody doesn't know how to live with other people. People don't know how to respect other people's things. And again, I feel like a lot of that comes from how you're raised, one, but also that freedom that you are craving when you get out of your parents' home, you're exerting that, but you can't exert it in a space filled with other people. You know what I mean? You can't just be like, I'm not gonna do the dishes because I don't have to. And so then you move into your own place finally, right? And that's exciting. And you're like, I can do things the exact way I want to. However, the issue that you run into is every time the economy does what it's doing right now, you are very much wishing that like you didn't live by yourself, because now a lot of us are in these like awkward ass positions where we're having to try to choose between having food and paying rent, right? Can I afford my electric bill, my rent, and food, or one of those things gonna have to like take a little dance around? And a lot of times we're dancing around these things. We're calling everybody and making all these arrangements, and it feels like really humiliating because the amount of money a lot of people are making is the amount of money that you were told would give you financial independence. You know what I mean? Like if you're someone making $60,000, $70,000 a year, you were told like that's a great amount of money and you should be doing well. And there's always the naysayers who are like, I'm able to save money and like blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, dude, because not everybody's living in some shitty town in bumfuck Ohio or Wisconsin or one of the Dakotas. No offense to y'all, but all offense if you're one of the people saying that. Everybody doesn't live there where no one lives, and that's why it's cheap. Like,
the unfortunate truth is that one day when you die, you'll spend eternity in a worse place than you could possibly imagine.
Worse than you could possibly imagine. I already live in Ohio. No one lives there, so they're not charging, right? There's no jobs, you know what I mean? Like, listen, don't start that shit. Like that's so frustrating when those people always enter the chat and you're like, please get out. You don't know what it's like. Like people have to live places where there are jobs. People have to be able to because all these jobs are trying to force people back into work. And so like, we're all kind of on this thing where we've been watching our buying power just like not even slowly decrease. It's like been in a fast decline. I don't know why I always forget to take these little things off the mirrors, but like, hello. I'm so glad Teresa sent me these Kaleidos bronzers, because there's like the one that's darker, which I'm using right now, and then there's the one that's a step underneath this. And like this one is my summer, because I get so dark and I'm like, okay, we need to change our bronzer from the Ready one, because I got my summer skin right now, baby. Anyways, so, you know, we're all having to live close to or around cities in Texas. Rent is skyrocketing. I know that it's skyrocketing everywhere else, but like the reality that like a 2-bedroom apartment is like damn near $3,000 a month, and you're just sitting here like, okay, all right, why do we live by ourselves? And this is why: capitalism. Now, it's true though. We live by ourselves because of capitalism. Because if most of us knew how to live with people, if we understood like the dynamics of living with other people, a lot of us would have bought houses a long time ago with friends and people that we trusted and knew we could get along with, we've stayed with, so we know how everybody operates. Because that changes your financial situation. Like you're able to do the things, like be able to save and put money in savings. Like right now, when these money people just like pop up from underneath the floor where they live to scare us and come up and be like, you should have $5,000 in savings. And we're like, bro, we don't even have like $4 at the end of paying bills. What are you talking about? Where am I supposed to get this magical savings money from? You know what? We are going to go with spritz. We're gonna do spritz. But so all of these things that would actually benefit us as people, right? To be able to save, to be able to not be like financially in the doghouse. I'm kind of putting it by and on my eye. You'll see. Like I've been doing these like little very chill looks, and I've been digging that plan lately. Anyway, there we go. I like to wear my blush like this. Anyways, but the issue that we're always running into is like when you live by yourself, all of these financial situations are placed on you. And like I was saying earlier, this will go in many circles. So if circles irritate you and you're just like not the kind of neurodivergent that can handle a story going in multiple, directions, I don't blame you. It's fine. Thank you for dropping by. But you were told that this kind of money, that was supposed to be the kind of money that you could live off of. You could live off of that money fine. Like it was supposed to be fine. You were supposed to be able to like survive off of that money. Like if you make $60,000 as a single person, you should be living comfortably, and yet you're not. Like you're not living comfortably, and you just keep looking around me like this doesn't even make sense. Like I can't. Car insurance is going up, the price of vehicles has gone up, your rent is out of control, you have to pay renter's insurance, the cost of groceries has gone up, like everything keeps going up. And yet here you are just like, I don't understand. Like this was that kind of money that, when somebody said that they made $50,000, you're like, holy shit, you must be high on the hog. And now it does nothing for you. You know what I mean? Again, unless of course you live in some bumfuck ass town. No offense to you, because I've lived in some of those towns before. I get it. You know what I mean? But the thing is, and here's the other thing that people don't want to tell you is like, yeah, okay, so what if we did all move to like some random small town in a North or South Dakota, right? Everything's going to skyrocket there. You know what I mean? Like we're never going to be in a perfect position. It's like, oh, you just have to get there first. Like, babes, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to be the first, person flocking to some random town in one of the Dakotas. I know they hate that, but like, listen, this is for conversational. But like, I'm not going to be one of the first people flocking to, some random town in one of the Dakotas or Ohio just to be able to capitalize on cheap rent and then make shit hella expensive for people there. I mean, it's happening in Mexico. We're all seeing it, right? Like, white people are overwhelmingly, and it's not just white people, but it's mainly white people, overwhelmingly moving and retiring in Mexico. Why? Because it's cheaper. Because the money that they had saved up for retirement will not go far living in America. It just won't. And because of that, Mexico has started changing and tightening the rules around people going there, because essentially what's happening is Americans are getting over there and raising the prices up high as fuck so that the local people can't just more just more colonization. And I don't want to colonize Ohio, you know what I'm saying? And like, I'm fully aware of how strange that sounds. I feel like I don't want to colonize Ohio, but I don't. I think that it, you know, at some point we have to recognize that it doesn't matter, because what we'll all end up doing is essentially making every place unlivable and too expensive to live. Because what always happens, I'm going to give you just a picture here from Texas, because this is how it works everywhere. But I live in Texas, so I just have to tell you from the perspective of, oh, there it is, from living in Texas. Sir, what happens is, I was like, what the hell? What happens is in Texas, they will start building houses out in the middle of quite literally nowhere. I wish I was kidding. I'm not. Like, there's nothing out there but land and cows, right? Nothing. They start building houses, okay? And for reasons, people move into these houses because, one, they're brand new construction. Two, they're usually pretty cheap at the onset. They're not really expensive because they're aware that it's a big ask to have people move out to these areas where it's going to be 30 minutes for them to get to Super Target. And Lord knows how Texans feel about their Super Targets. I'm like, not kidding. I'm not being sarcastic. It's true. Texans love their Super Targets. But people move out there. And the more people move out there, it eventually then does start to get the shopping center. And this is why almost all of Texas looks exactly the same. So eventually they start building the super shopping center that's going to have restaurants, Target, Lowe's, you know, Pets. I think it's Petco usually in those ones. But anyways, depending on who it is, it's either Petco or PetSmart. Like a lot of times if it's Walmart, it's PetSmart. But if it's Target, it's Petco. Anyways, it's not always the case, but it is a lot of times. So, you know, then they just start building all this shit around it. The houses slowly but surely start getting more and more expensive. Traffic starts building up high as shit. Like, it gets really weird and very strange very fast. Like, it's not something that like barely happens. It's just all of a sudden you've got freeway getting through there now. They've changed the entire street structure. There's tons of houses, there's apartments, there's a lot of restaurants. And like this whole area that was literally just nothing but like flat grassy land a year ago is now like a whole thriving mini metropolis. It's wild. And here's where shit starts getting extra messy, right? Shit starts getting super duper extra messy because what ends up happening is that like all these people who lived like a mile, maybe 2 miles from this super development, right? Their homes are suddenly not worth near as much as it was, because like now you've got like super development. Now everything is getting like mad intense. And once that happens, like you can't tell me at all that does not negatively impact people. Like your house value that used to be much higher is going down because there's brand new construction right by you. So you have that. You have the new construction right by you. Nobody's going to pay. Very few people are going to pay you what you want for the house now because they know like a mile away from you, they can buy new construction, brand new house. Nobody's ever shit in that toilet allegedly. Nobody's been taking a bath in their bathtub allegedly. Like all of this stuff is just like, oh, it's new. You have the new counters. You're not going to have to do all these things. And on top of that, you typically have approximately like a 5-year warranty on the house. So there's like, you don't even have to worry about having savings put away for anything that should happen to the house. Like you don't even have to stress about that. You're like, cool. I don't have to worry about all of these things. Like now I can just like live my bestest life and I don't have to worry about the financial strain of having like a savings in place in the event shit, right? So I know. So you're not having to stress or worry about any of that at all. You're like, cool. And then the people who have these houses next to you, they're basically having to play this like odd little game where they will price the house at what they want it to because they know what it's actually going to get. Like if you have a good realtor, the realtor is going to tell you like you're probably not going to get more than this because of the shit over here, and they're like, oh, okay. So now you're pricing your house at close to what the brand new construction is, even knowing you're not going to get that. You know what I mean? You're aware you will not get that, but you're still doing it because you want to get to what you can actually stomach having to take. And then you have to realize like all these little mom and pop shops and whatnot that used to function in these areas can't do that anymore. Like they're kind of getting screwed because they used to do well. Where's my mirror? They used to do well when before, you know what I mean? Before the great Target showed up, before the, all the giant shopping centers showed up. Like now they're not doing as well because why the hell would somebody, go to their little candle shop and buy their candles for what looks like, because people just look at price, especially right now. And so they're like, oh, well, that's super expensive. I can go into Target and get one for $4 cheaper. But it's like, babes, it's very frustrating and it sucks. And we're all just kind of sitting there watching this whole thing take place, right? So anyways, I say all of that to say, if you're contemplating like moving in or doing anything like that, like there's nothing wrong with it. Like I think too, there was a part of me that didn't even want to consider living with my mom because I felt like somehow that would make me a failure. And then I was just like, first of all, I love spending time with my mom. So let me just start there. Like we spend all this time together. There's nothing wrong with it. But second, I really began to understand like, I think that it's better for some, not all, but for a lot of people to enjoy communal living experiences. I think that it can be very helpful for you as a person. I think that the only reason that we live by ourselves is because capitalism dictated that we do so. Because it made it seem like living by yourself was like this magical paradise where you controlled everything in your house. And like, there is a level to where we don't need to control every single thing. We can control the communal living spaces together. But let's be very real in that, like, I don't necessarily need like an entire place to myself that I'm probably having difficulties taking care of. Let's be real. I am a neurodivergent person. I am messy, but having a space in which I am messy, like my own little room or whatever, like that's fine. That feels good to me. That feels less stressful. It also financially makes me happier. Like I'll be able to survive much better. Like being able to have food will be great. I love that idea. Like the idea of food is just like, whoa. The idea of being able to like get groceries and we're sharing in that cost. The idea that like I will actually be able to fully afford my life. Like, and I'm not even talking about the fun parts. I'm just talking about life in general, just being able to afford that. And just getting to spend all this time with my mom. Because truthfully, I don't think that I've gotten as much out of living by myself as I thought I would get. You know what I mean? I thought like living by myself was gonna be just like this whole thing, like, oh, look at me. And I feel like this hyper individualism is really just trying to make us flex for like no real reason. Like, who are you proving this to, boo? Like who? Who are you proving that you deserve whatever to? Like what are you trying to prove? What are we trying to prove by being able to live in our own places? Like I remember how odd it started to become when we would like kind of joke or kind of dog out someone who had to like have a roommate. Like, ugh, dude had a roommate. He's being financially responsible, so maybe we should just like not. Maybe we don't laugh at the guy who's like actually, oh my God. See, I told you. I said this in a stream that like one day they would both just be sitting next to each other and now here they are. Anyways. But like, that's the thing is we're taught to like look down on anyone not participating in the super fun American goal of hyper individualism. Like you're supposed to like laugh at somebody if they have roommates. You're supposed to be like, oh my God, can't believe you don't live by yourself. Like, so? And I think part of it too, obviously, is our weird Puritanism, our weird views towards sex and having it. So there's also like that weird thing where it's like, oh, I don't want to hear any, but you've already heard your parents have sex, y'all. So I know that it was like painful. It's a painful memory, but you already heard it. Get over it. You can do different things now, but I don't worry about that for me because I don't do that. As many of you know, I am Arrow A, so I'm not concerned about that in any way with living with somebody, but I think that there are ways, whether you're living with your parents or other people, where you can still engage in sexual activity. Y'all did it in college. Don't act up. Don't act weird. Don't act like you haven't. Okay. Let me stop talking, doing that to y'all. But, okay, I feel like there are definitely ways that we can all like, if you wanted to, you don't have to. I'm not saying you have to, but if you wanted to, you could make all of that work. But again, capitalism teaches you that like the hyper individualistic way of how Americans live is the way that we're supposed to be doing shit. It's very like, listen, if you don't live by yourself, you're not an adult. And I'm not sure why it's like that because honestly, culturally, most cultures do not like think like that. In fact, a lot of cultures, regularly live like that. Like the Nepalese people, I'm not sure if you say Nepalese because I don't know. Editing me will look it up and see, but like current me doesn't know. But I have like large swaths of Indian people who live within from India. Who live in the neighborhoods that I work in, which I'm not gonna lie, it's so painful for me to go there because the food that they're making, I can smell it. And the fact that none of these people have invited me to eat anyways, I'm like, how dare you? I'm hungry. Let me in. Let me have some of your delicious foods. Anyways, come on. Like, I'm not asking for much here. I'm just asking to eat your tasty food. I know you don't know me and I'm just here delivering your package, but give me your food. Thanks, please. Anyway, but it's just like colonized places have this like weird, very weird identity. And it's strange because like if you go, like I said, a lot of other cultures do not behave like this. It is customary for people to just like stay living with their parents until they're married. And even then they still oftentimes move in the elders of their home. And in America, we're just like throwing our families into old folks' homes. Like, and like, that's the result. Like, I think it's funny that they'll be out here screaming, yelling, whining, moaning, and complaining that the American family is dissipating and dying. And I'm like, yeah, that's the hyper individualism, right? Where like you're basically told that you don't even have to give a shit about your parents anymore. Obviously, if you had a bad relationship, let them rot wherever they're supposed to rot. But like if you have a good relationship with your parents, it's pretty shiesty that like this idea is you put them in a home obviously there's exceptions to the rule. Like if somebody has Alzheimer's, that totally makes sense because you can't be there 24/7 to take care of them. But otherwise, it's very interesting how we just kind of allow hyper individualism to destroy family and to destroy togetherness, right? Obviously that's its goal, but still. And for me, the most fun part about all of this, about being able to move in with my mom, isn't just the finances. It's that like as an adult, I've been getting to know my mother since lockdown, essentially. I've been getting to know my mother as like a fully actualized human being and not just like my mom. And that has been wonderful. I've been getting to know my friends better. Because now that I'm like not so focused on this need to prove that like I'm an adult because I'm living by myself in financial ruin. I'm like, what am I proving at this point? What is the goal? is the goal to just be suffering? I'd rather not. So I just think that people should feel okay with that. Like if you're an adult living with your parents because you want to, not even just because it's financially better, but although that does help, like you should have zero shame in that. You should have zero shame in that. Like you are living the way that I feel like a lot of us should in fact be living. Community is just that, community. And I don't think it's community to consistently everybody has their own house. Not to mention, I do think that like if we're gonna talk about the environment for like 1 second, I do think that it's not great for the environment for every single person to have their own place to live. Like why do we need to use all of that? Like I know somebody could come in and argue with me and say, yeah, but you're using the same amount of electricity, blah, 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 because there's multiple people in one place. But also no, because we don't have nearly as many houses. Like we currently have more homes than we actually need. We have more buildings for people to live in than can live in them. And this is, everybody who lives in apartments knows this. Like your apartment building is hardly ever 100% occupied. What does that tell us? Like everybody can't, like if everybody who can buy a place or rent a place has done so and there's still vacancies, that means we already still have too much housing. Because even I think this is just, this isn't a fact, I'm just saying, I think that even if we were able to put people into those homes, it wouldn't matter. We're going to keep going with these bold ass lips. I've been enjoying it. It's been so fun and I'm going to keep doing it. You know what I mean? But we have so much housing and it just seems unnecessary. All of it seems unnecessary. For me, I'm just happy to get out of my hyper individualistic, like I've got to prove that I can live on my own 2 feet. I've proven that multiple times and I'm tired of it. I like having company. I like the idea that like we can share. And also, Netflix and Hulu and all them fools just be raising their prices. And I feel like it would be nice for me and my mama to just be able to share all that shit, one roof. And like, that's another little way. I think that that's a nice way to fight capitalism, If you're anti-capitalist and, we have to participate in it, but there are different ways that we can subvert the system. And I think that by more and more of us living together, being able to get savings together, being able to support and uplift one another, we just keep fucking up their system because they consistently want us to be broke, poor, and unable to fight them. You know what I mean? Unable to see what they're doing, unable to actually get ourselves out from underneath us. Obviously, there should be like an uprising going right now, but I just don't think enough people are uncomfortable to actually have an uprising in this country. So anyway, this is the final look. I'm looking cute as shit. Like, you're welcome. Anyways, I'm gonna go because I think I'm gonna play a little game. I'm getting Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 because I played those. I'm in a take back series. For those of you who do not know, I play games on Twitch, also on YouTube. I think I'm gonna play on YouTube today. But I play games, and one of the things I consistently do is I take video games that my ex-husband and I used to play, and I'm taking them back for myself to have like fond memories of them instead of shitty memories. So if you want to partake of that, here's on my socials somewhere here if I feel like popping them in. If not, they're somewhere on my channel. So thank you for listening to me rant, ramble, rave, whatever. Yeah, this is what I do here. I do live streams and I do get ready with me. If that's fun for you, again, please subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and I will see you next time. Oh, also, remember, watching the same show over and over again is in fact self-care. So, bye.